Hello, YouTube. It's me, John Avenger, once again, and welcome back to another review. This is Horrorfest 2017, and we're going to start with a film that pretty much started a huge genre in horror. This is the original 1978 classic, Halloween. Yes, directed by John freaking Carpenter. Screw the Rob Zombie version. This is the original, baby. This is the one that started it all. This is the one that every other movie was trying to be at the time and then afterwards. And well, what can I say that hasn't been said about Halloween? It's a classic horror film from the 70s. It's got a great cast: Donald Pleasance, Jamie Lee Curtis, a bunch of others. It's well shot. It's low budget, but the movie looks like a movie from the 70s. The budget is fine. It looks just fine. It's a real town, real people, in this movie, and a real location, Haddonfield. And yeah, it's a film that is based itself in realism. It's not a fantasy. Like, it's not like Nightmare on Elm Street, where it's in your head, and Freddy's is inside of your, gets inside your dreams, or Jason, where he's killing you no matter what. This is The Shape, Michael Myers, the killer with the freaking white William Shatner mask that is the embodiment of evil. That's why he can't be stopped. And there's a reason that he's still, relevant today, and they're doing another movie next year with the celebrating the 40th anniversary of the original Halloween next year in 2018. And what do I think of this movie? Like I said, it's a great movie. It's a great classic film. It's not really the slasher, like I'm going to kill everybody in the movie, because it starts off with Michael Myers when he's a kid, and he kills his sister, and he has a clown costume on. He has a knife in his hand, and they take his mask off, and they show him, and he goes away for a while, and we don't know how that happened. It just he was a normal kid that just did something evil, and just it came out of nowhere. In the remake, they explain too much, and I don't want any explanation. When you explain too much, you end up with bullshit like the remake and other remakes as well. But anyway, Jamie Lee Curtis, this was her start in horror. She is this daughter of the late great Janet Leigh from the original Psycho, so she had to follow in her mom's footsteps eventually. She looks great in the movie. She's like a Girl Scout, like a female Superman in a way, and she's not an SJW. She's not a feminazi. She's not a super overpowered, freaking female character. She's strong, but she finds her inner strength from her humanity and her vulnerability, because Michael will kill her if if he gets in her way. It's not like, oh, you're related to me, spoiler alert, I'm gonna come after you anyway. He's not a pussy in this movie. He will come after you and kill you with that freaking kitchen knife. It's scary. The score, the legendary score by John Carpenter. That's haunting. That alone is scary. Hear that music when you're walking outside in the middle of the night, like in a forest or in the freaking woods, or walking down a park. That is some scary shit right there. Carpenter, every time we hear that piano playing, it's one of the creepiest scores ever. I think it's creepier than the Elm Street score, dun 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 dun, or Friday the 13th, dun dun dun, dun, or no, that's Psycho, or Friday the 13th. What was it? Dun, 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 or whatever. Yeah, there's a lot of scores for Friday the 13th. I forgot, but anyway, Halloween. This is a classic. It's not as gory as some of the other films that came out at the time. It has atmosphere. You feel like these people, would go through something like this. A rampaging killer that he has the devil's eyes, and Pleasance does a great job as Dr. Loomis. He's a real character. He's not just some old man that dies at the end like other movies that I've seen. Pleasance, yes, he's a Brit, but he was a great actor, and he was Loomis, not Malcolm McDowell. Sorry. And the speeches he gives are legendary. The way he walks, the way he talks, his mannerisms, everything is iconic. Laurie Strode, there's only one, and that's Jamie Lee Curtis. That's why she's coming back. Her acting is fantastic. She has long hair and jeans, and she's babysitting these kids, and one of them becomes an older kid in Halloween 6, played by Paul Rudd in that version, in either version, the theatrical cut or the producer's cut. Now, is the film scary? Yes. There's a scene where at the end, Laurie's like, it's very concerned. Michael's lying behind her, and then his head just comes up like the Undertaker. It's really creepy. And you never know when he's gonna come out. Like there's a scene in the closet where he's trying to grab at Laurie. There's a scene where he's walking down the street. There's a scene, when he's on top of the house, and Loomis shoots him in the face, and then his body falls out the window, and he lands on the ground, and then his body just disappears. I mean, this man you don't want to mess with. I mean, and this movie alone is the reason why people went to go see this movie. It was a low budget film, an independently made movie that cost nothing, and it made tons of money back in 1978, and it still holds up. This movie did not need a remake. It didn't need shitty sequels like 5 and 6 and freaking the H2 and not H2O, Halloween 2, the sequel to the remake. We didn't need that. We just needed this and the second one, and that would have been fine. Granted, I think 3, it holds up on as its own standalone movie. I like 4, but 5 ruins that. 6 is shit. H2O was a good follow up, and it should have ended with that. If you had the 2 originals, that would have been fine. It doesn't kill it, but if H2O was the last one in the whole franchise, that would have been fine. Resurrection, you killed off Laurie Strode. That was a mistake. But I like the second half of it for what it is. It's still a very flawed movie, but the original is the best one. This is the masterpiece that John Carpenter wanted to create. And thanks to this, he got a lot more work in the 80s. He's a great director. He's underrated at a while, when you think about it, because the man never made a movie that made $1 billion like some people. Winkety wink wink, and you know who you are, so this doesn't become another rant on that. And the guy's still holding up, man, because, Romero passed away, Tobe Hooper passed away, and Wes Craven passed away. But Carpenter, one day he's going to be knocking at death's door and he won't be with us, but his films will live forever. This is one of them, and it holds up. If you want to see a movie that personifies the freaking holiday of Halloween, this is it. The name is in the title. It's creepy. It's atmospheric. It's realistic. It doesn't have this fantasy aspect that they had in later sequels. It has a crazy, creepy score. It's not a long movie. It's like about 90 minutes. I don't know how long, around 90, 95 minutes. It's really short, so it's not an ordeal to get through. And, it doesn't have a downbeat ending like some of the other sequels do. And Laurie's a strong character that's vulnerable, which is what I miss in Halloween movies now, in freaking any film genre now, where the females have to either be overpowered, they have to have a shitty accent, or they can't act, so they have to like whisper or have no screen presence. Jamie Lee Curtis has screen presence. These other girls would not last 5 minutes in a horror movie this gigantic. And there's a reason for the film's reputation for getting tons of praise, and people consider it one of the greatest horror movies in American cinemas. It is. It's a classic. I don't have it anymore because my brother stole it from me, but I remember what's in here. I remember how creepy it was when I first saw it. I was like, wow, this is really atmospheric. And it's a very easy movie to find. There's tons of copies of this movie to find on DVD, Blu-ray, digitally. You can watch it in the theater. They give it like once a year, every October, because it's a classic. And you can't outshine this. Like, I hope that the movie next year puts an end to this franchise once and for all. Just bookmark the film, continue the Laurie Strode thing. Michael dies, it's over. You don't need to stretch it out any further. Put a bookmark to one of the greatest film franchises of all time in the horror genre, Halloween, which there are more watchable movies in this franchise than some others, where they get excessively worse. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Nightmare on Elm Street, freaking, not Leprechaun. What was another one? Like the Prom Night sequels. Yeah, after 2, it just goes to shit. But this one is actually really well done. The second one is a good follow-up. Third one's decent standalone. 4 is a really good story on its own. 5 sucks. 6 sucks. H2O is good. Got some problems, but, it's not as bloody as the original, but it's definitely better than Resurrection, and Any of those are better than the remake and the sequel to the remake. When those happened, I was like, yeah, you can't get any worse than that. Unless Michael Myers was a woman, an SJW feminazi played by Kathleen Kennedy if she was an actress, and she was killing people in Haddonfield. That's how shitty it would be. But it can't get any worse. And Buster Rhymes kicking Michael through out of a window is not the most embarrassing thing anymore. And I'll get to that if I ever review Halloween Resurrection. But the original is very solid. See it, don't question it. Just go watch it. Open mind. Forget about Rob Zombie's version. This is the superior version in every way. And don't tell me in the comments, oh, but John, this movie's dated. It's so old. It's almost 40 years old. It doesn't mean the movie is bad. Films came out this year with shitty CGI and bad casting decisions and bad directors and bad writing, and that's what killed it. And those movies will be forgotten by next year. This movie is still revered, and it deserves it. So fuck some of the horror films from this year that wish they were Halloween. I'm not saying Get Out or that. I'm not saying that or It. I'm saying like some of the horror films that were shitty that came out this year, like Bye Bye Man. Yeah, bye bye. We'll see you later. Or freaking Wish Upon or whatever. Just these movies just don't hold a candle to Halloween. And this is a movie is still the best of its genre. It's one of the best horror films ever made, and it's one of Carpenter's best, easily, in my top 10 Carpenter films of all time. But anyway, thanks for watching. Take care. See Halloween. You don't have to watch it on Halloween. You can watch it beforehand. It's that good. So I will see you guys in the next review. Later.